Everyone told you to pick one thing. You never could. And for a long time, you carried that like a confession. Like something you had to explain. Apologize for. Fix. You'd go deep into something. Really deep. You'd read everything. Watch everything. Absorb everything. You'd start to feel it click. That quiet confidence of someone who actually understands something. And just when people started to see you as the person who does that thing, you'd feel it again. The pull. Somewhere else. Something new. A different problem. A different world pulling at the edge of your attention. And you'd follow it. Because you couldn't not. So you learned to code and then got obsessed with psychology. You studied design but couldn't stop reading about economics. You built something creative and then wanted to understand the business behind it. You picked up a skill. Then another. Then another. And another after that. And somewhere along the way, someone used a word. Scattered. Maybe they didn't say it out loud. Maybe it came as a look. Or a question dressed up as concern but landing like a verdict. What are you actually focusing on? And you didn't have a clean answer. You never have a clean answer. Because the honest answer is everything. And everything sounds like nothing. To someone who only ever chose one road. And stayed on it. So you tried to narrow. You tried to commit. You built walls around one interest and told the others to wait outside. But they didn't wait. They never wait. And the walls never held. So you decided the problem was you. Your discipline. Your follow-through. Your inability to just be normal about this. You watched other people stay in their lane. And you wondered what was wrong with you. That you kept wanting more lanes. Here's what nobody told you. While you were busy feeling like the problem. The world you were trained to enter no longer exists. The economy that rewarded one skill. One lane. One specialty practiced for 40 years in the same building. Under the same title. For the same company. That world is dissolving. Not slowly anymore. Quickly. And what's replacing it doesn't want a straight line. It doesn't want the person who stayed perfectly inside the boundaries. It wants something rarer. Something most people spent their entire education trying to eliminate in themselves. It wants range. There's a shape researchers and economists have started using. To describe the kind of person who doesn't just survive what's coming. But leads it. Not T-shaped. Not I-shaped. Multiple peaks. Multiple areas of genuine, earned depth. Connected by a mind that doesn't just live in one valley. But moves between them. And sees what the valleys share. The T-shaped person knows one thing deeply. And a little about everything else. That was the ideal for an entire generation. Be the expert. Be the specialist. Be the one they call for that one thing. But the M-shaped person knows several things deeply. And more importantly, they know how those things talk to each other. They see the pattern living inside the overlap. They solve the problem the specialist can't. Because the specialist only has one lens. They build the thing nobody else thought to build. Because nobody else was standing at that particular intersection. That's not scattered. That's structural. Think about what you actually are. You're not someone who can't commit. You're someone who keeps finding things worth going deep into. That's not a flaw in your attention. That's a signal about your capacity. Most people stop at the surface of a new interest because it gets hard. You kept going. Not once. Multiple times. In multiple directions. At the same time. What looks like distraction from the outside is actually a library being built. A library only you have. In exactly that combination. In exactly that order. And the order matters more than you know. The way your design thinking quietly informs how you write. The way your psychology background changes how you lead a room. The way your obsession with music theory reshapes how you structure an argument without you even realizing it. None of that is accidental. None of that is wasted. It was always connecting. Even when you couldn't see the connection yet. Especially then. The connections were happening underground. Like roots. Invisible. Slow. Building something that one day you'll stand on top of. And not fully understand how it got there. But it got there because you followed every strange pull. Every inconvenient curiosity. Every interest that had no obvious career path attached to it. You built the foundation without knowing that's what you were doing. But here's the truth. The M shape only becomes power when you stop apologizing for it. Because right now, some part of you is still performing the single focus story. Still editing your bio to look more specialized than you are. Still shrinking the range in rooms where range feels like a liability. Still waiting for someone to give you permission. To walk into a space as everything you actually are. That permission is not coming from outside. It never was. The people building the most interesting things right now are not the ones who went deepest in one direction. They're the ones who went deep in several. And then had the courage to stand at the center of all of it. And say, this is where I work. This is who I am. The writer who understands neuroscience. The engineer who studied philosophy. The strategist who spent years making things with their hands. The founder who once wanted to be a therapist. They're not confused. They're compounded. Every interest you followed left something inside you. A framework. A vocabulary. A way of seeing that most people in any single field simply don't have access to. And when you bring all of it to one problem, you don't solve it like everyone else. You solve it like someone who has been preparing for it. Across 10 different disciplines. Without ever knowing that's what they were doing. That's not luck. That's what a life of wide, deep, relentless curiosity actually builds. When you stop interrupting it with shame. The world doesn't need more people who stayed inside the lines. It has more than enough of those. It needs people who crossed every line they were handed. And came out the other side with something new. Something that couldn't exist inside a single lane. Something that only becomes possible when one person holds all of it at once. You were never too much. You were never unfocused. You were never the problem. You were always becoming something. That just didn't have a name yet. And maybe now it does. The question isn't whether your range is an asset. You already know it is. The question is quieter than that. And harder. Are you finally ready to stop explaining yourself? And start building with everything you have? Not the edited version. Not the version that fits the bio. Not the version that's easier for other people to understand. All of it. Every interest. Every obsession. Every strange turn you took that seemed like a detour. But was always the path. What happens when you stop treating your range as the problem? And start treating it as the point?